There are a lot of truly fantastic, wonderfully experimental episodes of Community that push the boundaries of what a TV sitcom can do. However, I believe Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas blows past them all to create one of the most enjoyable episodes I've ever seen, as well as one of my favorite Christmas stories. See, Abed is a character who has always had trouble confronting reality. He often uses movies and TV shows as a way to relate to others and deal with the world around him. This ranges from recreating the movie My Dinner with Andre when he feels he's drifting apart from one of his friends, to making movies so he can communicate with his father. In a lot of ways, reality is Abed's antithesis, one that he carefully guards himself from. The show doesn't really take a side on whether this relationship with reality is good or not. It shows the positives and the negatives. Troy especially admires the sheer imagination that Abed possesses and the fun that it produces. But in Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, Abed takes it further than ever before. In short, the episode follows Abed as he imagines the study group going on a magical Christmas journey where they're all claymation. Yeah, when I said Community really pushes our idea of what a sitcom can be, I wasn't kidding. It's soon made very clear that Abed is the only one who's seeing any of this. See, for reasons that will become clear later, Abed is again using movies, this time classic claymation Christmas movies like The Year Without a Santa Claus, as a way to avoid having to deal with the harsh reality of his real-life problems. In this world, all he has to worry about are evil warlocks and finding the meaning of Christmas, not his loneliness or the idea that he might be having a serious mental breakdown. Abed isn't using movies to relate to people anymore, he's using them as a way to not live his life, and he's going dangerously far. But more than that, this episode also challenges the larger narrative around Christmas, the one pushed by every movie and commercial. Simply put, the idea that Christmas is a special day, full of magic, love, and wonder. It asks whether or not this is all just a delusion, whether it's foolish to put all that belief and pressure into what is in reality just another day in December. And when Abed's problems cause him to question this magical view of Christmas, he refuses to accept reality and instead dives deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of denial and delusion, all while taking his friends on an unforgettable and uncontrollable winter journey. Let's take a dive. The episode starts out pretty normally, with the group members going over their plans for the holidays. Abed is disappointed by the lack of excitement and noteworthiness of their plans. He says that this Christmas obviously must be special, since they're stop-motion animated. And this is really interesting to me, because it shows that Abed believes Christmas to be so special and magical that being claymated, that can't be the right word. Anyway, it's something that can just happen. Logic be damned, the magic of Christmas is powerful enough to remake the world just like that. But here is where reality first challenges Abed, as the study members reveal that none of them can see the claymation. They express real concern for his mental well-being, and while Abed admits that this troubles him a little, he soon shakes it off, and further embraces this new world, that we now know is a delusion, by singing a Christmas theme song. But again, we see the reality of the world is in conflict with this magical Christmas delusion he's created for himself. His dancing damages the hoods of several cars, and it ends with him being tased. I don't remember that happening in Frosty the Snowman, is all I'm saying. As much as Abed wants the world to be magical and Christmassy, like in the movies, it's just not. So he dives even deeper into his delusion. When the dean tells him that he might be kicked out of school if he goes on like this, Abed shies away from the real issue once again. Instead, he claims what he really needs to do, besides confront his problems, is to find the meaning of Christmas. A good quest for any holiday special. It's a way to simplify his problems. Anyone who gets in his way isn't really concerned about him, they just hate Christmas. He soon goes even further with this, hijacking Duncan's therapy session and transporting him and his friends to a magical new world. When the real world isn't as full of Christmas magic as he'd hoped, and won't stop shoving his own problems in his face, he retreats even further into his Christmas delusion. The magic of Christmas is again in full force, as he even transforms his friends into magical Christmas versions of themselves. And side note, but I love how well thought out all of his friends' Christmas alter egos are. They're all perfectly tailored to their personalities. Annie is emotionally fragile and tightly wound, so she's a ballerina, and Britta can be cold and unemotional, so she's a robot. It's a really good way to show us just how deeply Abed understands his friends, even if he has trouble expressing it in a normal way. He uses television and his imagination and stories to relate to the world when reality is just too boring or too difficult. Abed then proceeds to slowly kick his friends out of his new world a la Willy Wonka whenever they challenge A, the spirit and importance of Christmas, or B, try to pull Abed out of his new world. For example, Jeff is sarcastic and makes fun of the whole situation, so he's eaten by a swarm of humbugs. A little on the nose, but it gets the point across. If you can't buy into the magic of Christmas, as well as the reality of this magic, which is probably more important, then get out. The gang make it to the Cave of Frozen Memories, where Duncan tries to get Abed to confront the root of his uncontrollable Christmas delusion. But it backfires pretty quickly. Abed then blows up the Cave of Frozen Memories, which is pretty good symbolism for him refusing to deal with his issues. He then kicks Britta out of his world, claiming that it wasn't because she doesn't love Christmas carols, it's because she lied to him to trick him into therapy. And this is a major clue that Christmas isn't really what this is about for Abed. Instead, Christmas represents something to him, and Britta being a bad friend, however good her intentions were, is a much larger violation to him. They hop on a train to the North Pole where they share what Christmas means to them all, despite their conflicting religions. Abed says that every year his mom comes to visit him on December 9th, and they watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Troy points out that today is December 9th, and Abed is yet again unable to confront what you can probably guess is the true source of his delusion. He simply says, "That can't be right," repeating, "She comes every year," as though trying to convince himself. But we don't get much time to ponder this as Duncan quickly reappears, claiming he knows what's wrong. Abed, of course, wants no part of this and climbs on top of the train to escape in what is a really pretty scene. I know I haven't gone around to mentioning it, but the animation just looks really solid during the entire episode, which is impressive, especially considering how famous the Christmas specials it's trying to emulate are for being ugly. Duncan says that Abed's resistance is futile because
you against reality, and reality always wins.
And that's a line I'm going to come back to later, but know that that statement, that reality always wins, is pretty threatening to Abed as a person. He is someone who has constructed his whole life around his vast imagination and the various fictional media he consumes. I mean, he's currently living in a world of his own creation, so the idea that none of it can last and he will always be confronted with harsh realities is scary. Annie and Troy help him to escape, demonstrating how they too have chosen to trust Abed and keep his fantasy alive over bringing him back to reality. So reality doesn't win, at least yet. And hey, Pierce is back, as he wanted to be with his friends during the holidays. I'm just now noticing that he squeaks when he walks because he's a teddy bear. That's good. They make it to Santa's workshop, where Abed finally discovers the meaning of Christmas. Except it's just a DVD of Season 1 of Lost, to symbolize lack of payoff. Evidently, Abed can't find a meaning to Christmas, at least a simple and physical one like he wants, and that's when Duncan comes back and drops the hammer. He reads a letter Abed received from his mom, which says that she has a new family now and can't visit him for Christmas this year. Basically, Abed didn't want to, or just couldn't, deal with the idea that his mom can't be with him, so he encased himself in a reality modeled after the Rudolph the Reindeer Christmas special he watches with his mom. He thinks he's lost what Christmas means to him, love and spending time with his family, so he creates a magical Christmas journey where he can pretend that Christmas is still special and wonderful. And in this new world, he can try and find a new meaning for Christmas, either to replace the one he's lost or to reinforce it. And due to Duncan's own bad memories with Christmas and his family, he repeatedly tries to make Abed face the harsh reality that he's already accepted, that Christmas isn't special. It doesn't have any deeper meaning like movies have always told us. It's just a day that we put too much meaning into. Duncan's lost the love that used to give Christmas a special meaning for him, and so now he resents Abed's attempts to make it more magical. And now that Abed's been confronted with the core of his real-life issues, he fully shuts down, symbolized by how he becomes encased in a block of ice. But just when it seems like all is lost, his friends show up to fight Duncan. They say that the delusion that Duncan is trying to fight is Christmas. The very crazy idea that a random night in December can be full of love and meaning. Sure, there's nothing inherently meaningful or special about December 25th, putting aside religion, but nonetheless we make it special by choosing to believe that it does have special meaning. Therefore, Christmas can really mean anything to anyone. Spending time with family, playing video games, eating a bunch of Christmas cookies, That one's mine, FYI. These can all be the meaning of Christmas if you want them to. The true meaning of Christmas is the idea that Christmas can have meaning, as Abed says. For him, that used to be watching movies with his mom, but now it means spending time with his new family of friends. But you have to buy into the delusion for Christmas to work, meaning that reality has no place in my favorite time of the year. So after the study group blows up Duncan with a Christmas pterodactyl, by the way, did I mention there's a Christmas pterodactyl? Because there's a Christmas pterodactyl, and it's the greatest thing ever. But, putting that aside, Britta, rather than forcing Abed back to reality, actually asks if they can stay in claymation form for the rest of the holiday. A clear signal that, unlike Duncan says, reality doesn't always win. It's a full endorsement of the imagination and fantasies that so many people tell Abed he has to grow out of. Reality sucks, so once in a while, especially around Christmas, when we invent narratives about happiness and love, it's much better to buy into it. Because sure, it does seem silly to get so excited and put so much meaning into a random cold day in winter. Christmas may not be inherently special, but the belief that it can be if we give it meaning is a really powerful one. Ultimately, Abed was right to run away from reality and insist that it has meaning, that the world is magical around Christmas, because it can be. No realistic humbugs allowed.